Part 34. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 331. Chen Hao looked at the big wolf's expression. He walked to the big wolf, stretched out his hand, and patted the big wolf's huge head. The big wolf felt Chen Hao's action. It came back to its senses and looked at Chen Hao. Sorry, master. The big wolf didn't want to add trouble to the master because of its own troubles. Hearing this, Chen Hao looked at the big wolf. His eyes were gentle, and his hand stroked the big wolf's hair. No, you are a big wolf, my beast. If I don't care about your troubles, who else will care? The big wolf was startled. Its head approached Chen Hao's arm and rubbed Chen Hao's arm. Thank you, master. Chen Hao smiled. He took back his hand and looked at the big wolf. What your mother wants is for you three brothers to live well. You can't disappoint her expectations. The big wolf nodded slightly. Chen Hao returned to the chair and sat down. By the way, the second wolf and the third wolf, do you know? The big wolf nodded. Watching the big wolf nod, Chen Hao thought about the second wolf and the third wolf. These two guys are really brave. Yeah, but it's true. Big Wolf obtained part of his mother's memory through the magic crystal left by his mother, while the second and third wolves didn't have the same situation as Big Wolf. Knowing that his mother died at the hands of Big Bear, Big Wolf's reaction was naturally stronger. But everything Big Bear did to take care of them can be regarded as a kind of compensation. The situation of Big Bear and Big Wolf's mother at that time, Chen Hao also saw it with his own eyes. The battle at that time was basically a fight for life. Either Big Bear died or Big Wolf's mother died. In the field of Warcraft, that situation is understandable and no one can blame anyone. Chen Hao looked at Big Wolf. Have you ever thought about resurrecting your mother? Even if Xiadi is not adapted to the field of immortality now, she can resurrect dead life forms. This ability may also be used on Big Wolf's mother. Big Wolf shook his head. I asked Sister Xiadi to try, but it didn't work. It didn't work. Chen Hao was stunned. Big Wolf nodded slightly. Sister Xiadi's resurrection ability can only revive the life that died recently. If it has been dead for too long, it will not work. Chen Hao did not expect this. It turns out that resurrection has a time limit. Chen Hao was silent. He thought for a while, and he looked at Big Wolf's dull posture. Chen Hao showed a relaxed smile. Now you have grown up, and you also have two children. Live a good life in the future. Try to have more and turn this Warcraft forest into a Wind Wolf forest. Big Wolf was startled, and it came back to its senses from the dullness. It looked at Chen Hao and saw the smile on Chen Hao's face. Big Wolf nodded slightly. I will. Chen Hao smiled, and he stood up. Seeing you and Carol in this state now, I feel relieved. He walked to Big Wolf, patted Big Wolf's strong body, and said with a smile, it's almost time, I should go back, you work hard. After that, Chen Hao's figure disappeared on the spot. The Big Wolf came back to his senses, turned his head and looked at the place where Chen Hao disappeared, his pupils glowing. Thank you, master. The Big Wolf raised his head and looked at the divine world above. For the Big Wolf, the master is like the Big Wolf's mother. If the master hadn't picked me up later and taken care of me, the Big Wolf would not be here today. Master, you are the reborn parents. Your kindness will never be repaid by the Big Wolf. At night, Chen Hao lay on the bed, thinking about the problems between the Big Bear and the Big Wolf, the second wolf and the third wolf. The reason why the Big Wolf chose to return to the monster forest, accompany the Wind Wolf Carol to give birth to children, and live in the monster forest is probably influenced by the memory of its mother. The second and third wolves are very generous, but it's not surprising. They don't have a deep impression of their mother. In addition to the care that the Big Bear took for them, they probably forgave the Big Bear. Forget it, I'm too lazy to think about it. Go to sleep. Chen Hao closed his eyes. Time flies, and a week has passed. Chen Hao was idle and was lying on the sofa, flipping through the universal book in a daze. Master, suddenly, a voice sounded. Chen Hao was frightened by the sudden voice and trembled. He quickly sat up and looked at the source of the voice. There was a woman standing over there, wrapped in light silver armor. The armor was attached to her body, forming a concave and convex line. Her face was also wrapped in a light silver armor helmet, and her appearance could not be seen. Behind her, 3 pairs of wings were also wrapped in armor, and the armored wings were spread out. At this moment, it looked like a mecha angel. But the problem is, Chen Hao remembered very clearly that there was no guy of this form among his beasts. Who? Chen Hao's eyes had a hint of doubt. He, it's me, a familiar voice sounded. The girl's helmet disappeared with a blue halo, and her long red hair naturally fell behind her, revealing a delicate and beautiful face with a confident smile. It was the Fire Phoenix. Huo Feng smiled and said, Master, how about it? Am I handsome? As she spoke, she turned sideways and posed, just like she was walking on a catwalk. Chen Hao was a little confused. When Huo Feng entered the main god stage, she was indeed mechaified, but after the Ascension evolution, Chen Hao chose genetic evolution for Huo Feng. Therefore, her original fiery red mecha disappeared and she returned to a pure biological posture. But now, why is this guy suddenly wearing such a set of armor? Chen Hao looked at the Fire Phoenix in front of him. It's handsome, but your armor, what's the situation? Fire Phoenix smiled, I have been staying in Endless Star for a while. When I was bored, I studied the Iridium Mantis card. Master, do you know what happened to me? Fire Phoenix raised her hand. Change. The armor on Fire Phoenix's body lighted up slightly, and the armor disappeared, turning into a card in Fire Phoenix's hand. Fire Phoenix handed the card to Chen Hao. Chen Hao took a look and took it. Equipment Iridium Mantis armor. Seeing this, Chen Hao was slightly startled. This is. He looked at Fire Phoenix in surprise. Where did it come from? Chen Hao was a little shocked. The armor that Fire Phoenix just wore was not something else. This thing was the armor transformed by Iridium Mantis. Chen Hao clearly remembered that only highly intelligent creatures could wear Pulse Beast armor, but now, Fire Phoenix can also wear it? Huo Feng smiled triumphantly, and she took out another card. She showed the front of the card to Chen Hao. Master, look, this is an Iridium Mantis card, and then, look. Arm up, Huo Feng said. The Iridium Mantis card turned into white light, which covered Huo Feng, wrapped Huo Feng's body, and then turned into a light silver armor. Seeing this, Chen Hao's eyes widened. What the hell? It can be used like this. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 332. Huo Feng, who was wrapped in light silver armor, folded his hands around his chest. Although Chen Hao couldn't see Huo Feng's expression, Chen Hao could definitely guess that Huo Feng must have raised the corners of his mouth, showing a proud and confident expression, and then waited. Take credit. Chen Hao never expected that this Iridium Mantis card could be used in this way. In other words, in addition to humans or some highly intelligent humanoid beings, even beast masters can also equip Iridium Mantis cards. One more thing. That is, Chen Hao himself can also equip this thing. Previously, when Chen Hao equipped Qiaoer and the others with Pulse Beast cards, he had to turn Qiaoer into cards to fuse the equipment. And according to the current operation method of Huo Feng, it means that Chen Hao himself can also use the Pulse Beast card to armor. This is interesting. Chen Hao showed an excited smile. Finally something interesting has appeared in this boring life. It is worth mentioning that the humans and demons in VAF Star all have the ability to turn creatures into cards, and these abilities are given by the Lord God, but as for the triggering and changing methods of the cards, the Lord God does not know. Commands such as change and transformation were given by the Lord God inadvertently in the course of daily life, and then passed on to the creatures he created. Therefore, the main gods do not know about the fusion of beasts and the armored use of pulse beasts. It's strange. It's obviously the Lord God's ability, but the Lord God can't get familiar with using his own abilities. He has to do his own research. Chen Hao smiled and said, "How did you discover this ability?" Huofeng took off her armored helmet, revealing her beautiful face. She raised the corners of her mouth and smiled, "It's Yao. Yao is playing with me on the Endless Star. When we were playing around, it happened that the word armed was mentioned, and I happened to to turn an iridium mantis into a card, and guess what? The card immediately helped me become armored. Then, I slowly tried it and found that the word armed can turn the iridium mantis card into an equipment card and arm me. I'm awesome, right?" Haha, Huofeng laughed. "Things that the old master gods didn't notice back then were discovered by me, hee hee. For it." Seeing Huofeng's proud look, Chen Hao raised his eyebrows. In fact, the reason why Satya and the others didn't notice it was because, to them in the main god stage, the Endless Star was not a person at all, and it shouldn't be called a place where gods stayed. You will die if you enter. Not to mention turning the pulse beast into a card, it would be nice if you don't get killed by the pulse beast. Without the pulse beast card, even if Satya and the others were given hundreds of millions of years, they probably wouldn't be able to discover how to use the pulse beast card. This is normal. Therefore, Huofeng looks so proud. Forget it, as long as it is happy, Chen Hao doesn't bother to explain. Chen Hao said with a smile, "Well done. I have never been armored before. I will give it a try and see how it feels to wear the iridium mantis armor." With that said, Chen Hao raised his hand and looked at the card in his hand. Equipment iridium mantis armor. Frankly speaking, Chen Hao is still looking forward to it. Like Xiaoying, they can share their abilities with Chen Hao so that Chen Hao can have their abilities, but like Pulse Beast and Gem Beast, there is no way to share abilities. Therefore, Chen Hao had never felt the power of the Pulse Beast, and now Huofeng's discovery made Chen Hao feel a little excited and expectant. Chen Hao said aloud, "Armed." As Chen Hao's voice fell, Chen Hao could see the card in his hand light up slightly. Then it turned into white light, and Chen Hao was surrounded by a ball of white light. Chen Hao felt his body light up and floated slightly. Then, his feet stepped on something soft. By the time Chen Hao came to his senses, the white light had turned into armor and completely wrapped Chen Hao's body. At this moment, Chen Hao saw the fire phoenix in front of him through the eye patch of his armored helmet. In addition to this, Chen Hao also found a message appearing on the screen in front of him. Gene Evolution Luo Phoenix God. The target is equipped with iridium armor. The target is too powerful. This message pops up. At the same time, Chen Hao could also see the blue pattern of the humanoid armor on the screen. Under the pattern were written the armor is in normal condition and the vein stone energy is sufficient. Seeing this, Chen Hao was shocked and felt a little shocked inexplicably. This is... Chen Hao frowned slightly subconsciously. This is simply like the information seen by the pilot of the mecha in a science fiction movie. After this pulse beast is armored, it becomes a high-tech mecha? Or is this pulse beast itself a mechanical creature transformed into a high-tech mecha? After seeing this scene, Chen Hao had various questions in his mind. Did this pulse beast really occur naturally? Can a naturally occurring pulse beast look like this? What if it is not produced by nature, but is a machine created by man? Master, suddenly, a voice came. This voice woke up Chen Hao. Chen Hao came back to his senses and looked at Huofeng. Huofeng looked at Chen Hao, with a hint of worry in his red eyes. "Master, are you okay?" He probably was in a daze, which made Huofeng worried. Chen Hao came to his senses and said with a smile, "It's okay. Chen Hao raised his hand and looked at his armor-covered palm. He shook his hand. Although covered by armor, it feels like the armor is part of his body. When holding it, Chen Hao can even feel the touch of the armored palm. In other words, this armor also has its own tactile nerves. When the armor is armed, will my own nerves be connected to the nerves of this armor? It's a magical feeling. Chen Hao turned his head to look behind him. Behind Chen Hao, the wings spread out, revealing two transparent metal wings. Unlike the fire phoenix, Chen Hao's wings are like mantis wings. In other words, when using the iridium mantis card to arm the armor, if it has wings, the armor will directly arm the original wings. If it does not have wings, it will get the wings of the iridium mantis. Chen Hao retracted his sight and closed his eyes. Chen Hao could feel that there was a core in the middle of his chest. This core was emitting energy, and this energy permeated his whole body. Obviously, this energy is the vein stone of the iridium mantis. Chen Hao opened his eyes and smiled. This feeling is really wonderful and interesting. Huo Feng saw this and smiled relaxedly. Master, you suddenly became dazed just now, which really scared me. Now it's much better. Chen Hao smiled. It's the first time I wear this armor, and I'm not used to it. In fact, it's not that I'm not used to it, but I was shocked. Chen Hao now has some doubts, whether the existence of the pulse beast is related to the existence of those who create the environmental transformation ring. I always feel that, this galaxy is not right. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 333. Inside Thunder Silver City. Inside the base of the Bingfeng Adventure Group. Simu, where are you going with so many people? Brother, we just came back from a mission and made some money. Of course we should go to the pub to have a good time. Well, I don't care if you go to the tavern, but I have something to remind you. Don't attack women on the street again. That will ruin the reputation of our adventure group. Haha, don't worry, brother, we are just going to the pub and we won't mess around. Well. As the leader of the Frozen Adventure Group, Han watched Simu leave, his eyes glowing with luster. He was very aware of the situation of his younger brother, who was the deputy leader. Simu, since he was promoted to a senior swordsman, he has become more and more inflated. In addition, he loves beauty and does not follow the rules. This kid will one day kill himself because of this, alas. Within the realm of gods. Chen Hao could clearly feel that there was something wrong with this galaxy. But whatever is wrong with it, it has nothing to do with me. I'm just an animal person. Chen Hao is still quite curious about things like galaxies, environmental modification rings and pulse beast armor. But curiosity is curiosity, and I can study it if I have the opportunity. However, rather than studying these things, Chen Hao is now more interested in cultivating beast masters. Change the armor on Chen Hao dissipated and turned into a card. However, now the training of beast masters has also encountered a bottleneck. After the beasts have devoured the 5th level jade, it will be difficult for them to evolve again. At present, the gems of the black gem people are all fused with small diamonds, and the result is just that the small diamonds can reach the realm of 8th level gems. Stuck Chen Hao stroked his chin. This is a problem. Currently, if I want to continue cultivating beast masters, according to AI, I can only waste time. It will take 6,000 years before a small diamond can be cultivated to a planetary level. 6,000 years, Monkey King was only suppressed for 500 years, which is too long. Chen Hao lay down on the sofa and stared at the unfamiliar ceiling above, in a daze. It's so boring, isn't there anything interesting? Chen Hao turned over and sat up. Forget it, let's go for a walk, it's idle anyway. He stood up. When Huofeng saw it, she smiled and said, "Master, I will go with you." Chen Hao was startled and looked at Huofeng. I saw Huofeng's smiling face of excitement and anticipation. Chen Hao smiled, "Aren't you going to play in Endless Star? There's nothing fun there. Those pulse beasts are just weaklings, so they're boring," Huofeng said with a smile. "Following the master is more interesting." For it. Chen Hao touched the back of his head, looked at the fire phoenix, and said with a smile, "It's up to you, but this time I'm going to play in the VAF star. You turn into a human form, fold your wings, and try to look like an ordinary person. Don't cause trouble." When Huofeng heard this, the 3 pairs of wings behind her disappeared. The somewhat exaggerated and gorgeous red feathered dress on her body glowed red, and slowly turned into a red dress, and the red halo surrounding her also dissipated. All of a sudden, the fire phoenix turned into a red-haired girl wearing red clothes. Huofeng smiled, "Master, do you think I look like a human being now?" Hearing this, Chen Hao nodded slightly, "Not bad, pretty good." Huofeng chuckled, "Then master, where are we going? Star VAF is so big." Chen Hao touched his chin and thought for a moment, "I have been to Thunder Silver City in the Thunder Silver Empire before. Counting the time, I haven't been there in almost 2 years. Let's go to Laiyan City and have a look." Suddenly, Chen Hao had a flash of inspiration. "That's right." Chen Hao opened the Universal Book, flipped through it, and took out a card from the book. Props Royal Collection Card Book. Change. Royal Card Collection Book. The cards are turned into an exquisite card collection book. Chen Hao opened the card collection book. This card collection book was given to him by the king of the Thunder Silver Empire. In the book, it is said that there are various jewelry and gold and other things, and the most important thing is. Here it is. Chen Hao took out a card from the card collection book. Props Thunder Silver Token. It is said that with this Thunder Silver Token, one can walk around in the Thunder Silver Empire and even order the soldiers to do anything. This is also a thing given to me by the king, but I have been busy training beasts during this period. I have not been to the Thunder Silver Empire, so I have no chance to use it. Maybe this thing can be used later. After taking out the Thunder Silver Token, Chen Hao turned the Royal Card Collection Book into cards and took them back into the Universal Book, and then placed the Thunder Silver Token card in the Universal Book. In this way, it can be easily taken out and used when the time comes. Get everything ready. The figures of Chen Hao and Huofeng disappeared. When he and Huofeng appeared again, they appeared on the streets of Laiyan City. The streets of Laiyan City are full of people, and there are various stalls on both sides of the streets. People are walking and shopping on the streets. The pedestrians all cast curious glances at Chen Hao and Huofeng, who suddenly appeared. "Master, is this Thunder Silver City?" Huofeng looked around curiously, then looked back at Chen Hao. "Master, what are we going to do next?" Chen Hao crossed his arms across his chest and was lost in thought. What should he do? In fact, Chen Hao didn't know what to do, so he just wanted to take a stroll here. Chen Hao looked around, and suddenly his eyes were attracted by a building in front of him. Not far away there is a huge building that looks like a Colosseum. That building is the Colosseum of this world. The correct name is the Beast Taming Arena. Every once in a while, there will be a beast taming competition. That is the holy land of beast tamers and also the place where beast tamers become famous. Looking at the beast taming arena in the distance. How about a beast taming competition with all the beast tamers in Laiyan City? Hey! Suddenly, a voice pulled Chen Hao back from his thoughts. Chen Hao came back to his senses and looked to his side. I saw a man standing there, followed by a group of men. The leading man was shirtless, revealing his strong muscles, and he carried a broadsword behind him. Obviously, this is a swordsman. He looked at the fire phoenix beside Chen Hao with a look as if he could see into the flesh, and the corners of his mouth were raised, revealing an expression that any man could understand. Those people are from the B-class adventure group Bingfeng Adventure Group. That is the deputy leader of Bingfeng Adventure Group, known as the Crazy Sword Simu. Simu has always been obsessed with beauty. Now these two outsiders are in trouble because he has set his sights on them. Chen Hao heard the discussion of passers-by beside him. Chen Hao blinked and looked at Simu. Simu's mouth corners raised, and he seemed very satisfied with Huo Feng's beauty. His eyes fell on Chen Hao. He smiled and said, "Boy, is this your woman?" Hearing Simu's excited words, Chen Hao was also a little excited. Could it be true? Is this a plot like a TV series that I encountered? This guy has taken a fancy to Huo Feng and wants to occupy Huo Feng? Chen Hao couldn't help but smile. It's not easy for me to answer your question. I'm afraid of scaring you. Happy. Finally, I encountered something interesting. However, Chen Hao couldn't answer Simu's question. If he answered that the fire phoenix was his beast, Chen Hao was worried that he would scare the group of people. That would be boring. When Simu heard this, he laughed out loud. Simu smiled and looked at the others behind him. Did you hear that? This guy said he wanted to scare me. Scare me? You haven't heard of my name, have you? Simu laughed and said, I am Simu, the deputy leader of the Ice Peak Adventure Group and the senior swordsman Simu. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 334. The Ice Adventure Group is a B-level adventure group, and the progress of the adventure group is very difficult. Even in the capital of the Thunder Silver Empire, the reputation of the B-level adventure group is extremely high. In this Thunder Silver City, no one does not know the Ice Peak Adventure Group as a B-level adventure group. Therefore, whenever Simu reported the name of his adventure group and his identity to others, no one was not afraid. Simu was planning to scare the boy in front of him in this way, but what puzzled Simu was that the boy in front of him kept an unchanging smile on his face, and his eyes were still full of interest. The arrogant smile on Simu's face stopped on his face. He slowly put away the smile, and his eyebrows slowly frowned. Aren't you afraid? Chen Hao smiled. What's there to be afraid of? Simu squinted his eyes. He walked around, and looked up and down at Chen Hao. After confirming that the boy in front of him was not the child or relative of the big boss, Simu smiled again. It seems that you are a fool. Well. Chen Hao smiled. If you say so, then it is. Sure enough, he is a fool, haha, Simu smiled happily. The followers behind Simu also laughed. Seeing this, Huo Feng frowned. To Huo Feng, this group of people was like a bunch of flies, annoying. Now Huo Feng wanted to slap these flies who coveted her beauty to death. Haha. Suddenly, Huo Feng heard laughter. She was slightly startled and subconsciously looked at Chen Hao beside her. But she found that Chen Hao was laughing. Huo Feng's eyes were shining with a hint of light, and there was a hint of doubt in her eyes. Master, laughing. Huo Feng had been paying attention to Chen Hao. In the God realm, Huo Feng saw Chen Hao mostly in a bored state, but she didn't expect that Chen Hao would be so happy when he came here. Could it be? Huo Feng looked at Simu, her mouth corners raised, and she thought to herself, it seems that the master treats them as clowns. Chen Hao smiled, and Simu and the others stopped laughing. Simu put away his smile and looked at Chen Hao, who was smiling and his eyes narrowed into crescents because of his smile. Simu showed disgust. Stinky boy, what are you laughing at? Chen Hao smiled and said, nothing, I just thought of something happy. Happy things. My friend's wife gave birth to a child. What does your friend's wife giving birth to a child have to do with you? Chen Hao's smile froze. Chen Hao coughed and said, I've been talking for so long, but I still don't know what this big brother wants to do. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. Simu raised his hand, drew out the broadsword in his hand, and pointed it at Chen Hao. I want to duel with you. Duel? Chen Hao was startled, and he looked at Simu curiously. What is a duel? Simu was startled, and he squinted his eyes. You don't even know a duel. Well, I don't know. Chen Hao crossed his arms and smiled. Simu snorted. This is the rule of the Thunder Silver Empire. If people encounter conflicts, one party can propose a duel and use the duel to resolve the conflict. Just like now, I challenge you to a duel. I want the woman next to you. If you lose this duel, then you have to give the woman next to you to me. Simu squinted his eyes. According to the rules of the Thunder Silver Empire, if there is a conflict between people, they can indeed propose a duel. But there is one thing Simu didn't say, that is, if one person challenges another person to a duel, the other person can refuse. After hearing this, Chen Hao raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, that's an interesting rule. So you are challenging me to a duel now? Simu raised his lips, yes. Chen Hao smiled, but I think this duel is unfair. Ah, Simu frowned, unfair. Chen Hao nodded slightly. You said that if you win this duel, you will get her. What if I win? Simu was stunned. You win. Simu looked back at the other members behind him. Did you hear it? He said he would win. At this point, the members looked at each other. Simu grinned. Haha. The members also laughed. Simu laughed wildly and looked at Chen Hao. You think you can beat me? Are you crazy? Chen Hao looked at Simu with a playful look and said with a smile, if I win, I want your life, okay. Simu paused and his smile disappeared. He looked at Chen Hao's smiling face and frowned. You are tired of living, you little brat. Okay, I promise you. I want to see how you can beat me, little brat. Simu raised the corner of his mouth, revealing his somewhat yellow teeth. Chen Hao smiled. At this time, the adventurers behind Simu and the passers-by nearby moved in tacit understanding. Forming a circle, Chen Hao and Simu stood in the middle of the circle. This guy is so stupid. He actually accepted Simu's challenge when he could have refused. He is so stupid. He even arrogantly said he wanted Simu's life. Now, not only can his woman not be saved, but his life is also not saved. Poor guy, how could this outsider provoke the Ice Peak Adventure Group? The passers-by around the periphery talked about it one by one, with regret in their voices and pity in their eyes. Chen Hao looked at Simu in front of him. To be honest, Chen Hao was really reluctant to kill this guy named Simu in front of him. It's been too long since I encountered anything interesting. However, coming back to the point, I thought about it. It has been almost 2 years since I came to this WAF continent, but I have never been provoked. Generally, in this WAF continent, people who see me either call me senior, call me the god of control, call me the god of creation, or kneel down directly. However, forget it, just teach him a lesson. Simu looked at the calm and self-assured smile on Chen Hao's face, and he felt that he was underestimated. Ah! Simu roared and pounced on Chen Hao, with the broadsword behind him. The sword swung out a 180-degree arc, and Chen Hao was covered by this arc. Chen Hao raised his hand and waved it. His palm directly touched the blade of the broadsword. Simu's pupils condensed, looking for death. Clang! Accompanied by a deafening metal collision sound. Simu's tiger's mouth shook. Ah! A shrill scream sounded. The broadsword was bounced by the terrifying force, flew 3 meters, and with a sound of puff, it stabbed into the wall, and the blade sank into the wall. Everyone looked back at the field. I saw Simu kneeling on the ground. He lowered his head, raised his hands were trembling. He looked at his hands, and saw that his hands were full of blood. I felt that when the broadsword was shaken away, the terrifying force was transmitted to his palm, directly tearing the tiger's mouth. Blood was flowing out. Simu looked at Chen Hao with unbelievable eyes. This white and tender boy in front of him caught the white blade with one hand, and shook the broadsword away. I saw Chen Hao touching his chin and looking at Simu. Seeing Simu looking at him, Chen Hao showed an elegant and gentle smile. Because of the smile, his eyes narrowed slightly, curved like a crescent moon. "Ah, ah," Simu screamed. He screamed miserably, "Devil, you are a devil." Simu looked terrified, as if he had seen a ghost. Simu turned around and planned to escape. Suddenly, Simu found that he could not move. He looked down and found that his body was covered by black mist. Let me go, Simu struggled hard. "Haha," Chen Hao laughed, "look how scared you are. Don't worry, I won't kill you, because that would be too boring. Since you like women so much, I will perform a small operation on you. I hope you will like it." Chen Hao waved his hand. The black mist enveloped Simu. "No, no, no," before being completely swallowed by the black mist, Simu screamed miserably, his pupils full of fear. At this moment, he realized that he had provoked the existence that should not be provoked. He regretted it, but it was too late. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 335. The black fog slowly dissipated, and a black-haired rat fell to the ground. The eyes of the people watching around the black-haired rat widened. A person turned into a black-haired rat. My God, what's going on? Chen Hao could hear the onlookers' voices of doubt. The black-haired rat sat on the ground, then stared at its body with big eyes, and its face was full of fear. The black fog turned into a big hand and held the body of the black-haired rat. Squeak, the black-haired rat struggled frantically, trying to struggle out of the black fog. But obviously, that was basically impossible. Although the black-haired rat was mature, the species of the magic beast were different, and the strength was also different. The black-haired rat was an extremely weak existence. It was estimated that an ordinary person could crush it to death, not to mention the black fog hand released by Chen Hao with the power of Xiaoying. Chen Hao looked at the black-haired rat held by the black mist, and smiled and said, "Simu, right." When the black-haired rat heard the name Simu, its ears stood up, stopped struggling, and stared at Chen Hao. Chen Hao looked at Simu, who had turned into a black-haired rat, and said with a smile, "I heard that there is a custom among the monsters of the rats. If a male rat sees a female rat, he will force her to mate. No matter how the female rat resists, it will be useless. I heard that many female rats died because of this. Since you like women so much, I will let you experience the pleasure of being a female." Squeak, Simu screamed, its pupils trembling, and the rat's eyes were full of fear and anxiety. Chen Hao smiled and said, "Then next, I will go to the place where the rats gather. I hope you can enjoy the happiness of being a female." Squeak, Simu screamed, and the squeak was full of fear. It looked at Chen Hao as if it was looking at a demon. Suddenly, Simu's body disappeared out of thin air. "Deputy Captain," Simu's followers suddenly shouted when they saw this scene. Chen Hao looked at those followers. But those guys met Chen Hao's gaze. They turned around and ran away as if they had seen a ghost. Seeing this, Chen Hao smiled, "What a pity, I thought there would be a few righteous people to play with me, but now it seems that this is it. It's so boring," Chen Hao muttered. "So what should I do next?" Chen Hao raised his face and looked at the blue sky above. Under the blue sky, white clouds were floating. At the same time, on a small island. This small island is full of dense shrubs. Because there are too many trees, it is dark in the forest. Squeak. Simu, who was transformed into a female black-haired big-eared rat, raised his upper body, and it pricked up its ears and looked around. "Where is this? Where is this?" Simu's heartbeat quickened, and he panicked, "Devil, where did that devil send me?" Rustle. Suddenly, Simu heard rustling sounds coming from all around. Simu's pupils trembled, and he looked around. He saw that the heads of big-eared mice popped out from the bonfire forests on all sides. They stared at Simu with their eyes, and they sniffed. As a female black-haired big-eared mouse, Simu could realize at this moment that the black big-eared mice in front of him, as numerous as the ocean, were all male big-eared mice. The red pupils of these male big-eared mice were full of excitement. They suddenly moved and rushed towards Simu. Ah, ah. No, no, Simu roared in fear. The sound coming from the big-eared mouse's mouth was a squeaky sound, which was full of fear. In an instant, Simu was covered by densely packed male big-eared mice. Before being covered by the male big-eared rat, Simu's pupils were filled with despair and fear. At this moment, Simu thought of the girls who were forced under him, and their eyes were also filled with despair and fear. Just like himself at this moment. Inside the Adventure Guild. Mr. Chen, you are here. Chen Hao brought the Fire Phoenix into the Adventure Guild. When he arrived at the front desk, he found that the waiter was still the same waiter named Lena. Lena recognized Chen Hao at a glance, and she showed a friendly smile on her face, and hurriedly greeted Chen Hao. Chen Hao looked at Lena's smile, and he smiled and said, "Do you still recognize me?" Lena was startled, and she smiled. Anyone can forget, but what Mr. Chen did last time, Lena will never forget for the rest of her life. He said this as if he had done something to her. Lena continued, "Mr. Chen, is there anything you need from Lena when you come to the Adventure Guild this time?" "Yes, I do," Chen Hao said with a smile. "I want to launch an event." "Event?" Lena's eyes were filled with confusion. "Yes," Chen Hao said with a smile, "I want to challenge the beast masters in the world to have a beast competition. It would be best if we could do it at the beast competition arena. I think with the influence of the Adventure Guild, we should be able to do it, right?" Chen Hao was bored and planned to have some fun and hold some events. Otherwise, it would be too boring. Chen Hao was interested in beast control, so he decided to hold this event. This. Lena couldn't help but blinked her eyes. Her smile was a little awkward. "Mr. Chen, I think, if someone else wanted to challenge the beast masters in the world by one person, I would think it was crazy, but if it will be different for you. When the competition is held, if you call out your dragon, no one will fight you." Chen Hao touched his chin. "What you said makes sense." Previously, Chen Hao called out the bone dragon directly outside the door of the Adventure Guild, scaring many people, including Lena. If he calls out the bone dragon, he will probably scare a lot of people. "That's it." Chen Hao looked at Lena and said with a smile, "I will use other beast masters instead of bone dragons. The rules have also changed. Participants can choose any profession, including beast masters and sword masters." That's fine with a magician. As long as you can defeat me, you can get a reward of 1 billion gold coins. What do you think?" Did you hear that? 1 billion gold coins. When Chen Hao finished speaking, the adventurers in the Adventure Guild began to breathe heavily. In this world, a dozen gold coins can keep a family happy and comfortable for a month. The value of 1 billion gold coins is an astronomical figure. For those adventurers who live their lives by licking their blades, this number is enough for them to pay the price with their lives. Lena was startled. She looked at Chen Hao. 1 billion gold coins, that will probably attract a lot of powerful people. If sir, you don't use your most powerful beast, I'm worried. Chen Hao smiled. "Just make arrangements, I've been itchy lately." Hearing this, Lena couldn't help but blinked, and she nodded slightly. "Since Mr. Chen has spoken, we will arrange this matter. I will inform the president of what Mr. Chen said." "President, I will talk to people in the arena about this." "Okay," Chen Hao said with a smile, "I will come again tomorrow." With that said, Chen Hao led Huo Feng out the door. Lena watched Chen Hao leave. While watching Chen Hao leave, Lena noticed a few people quietly following Chen Hao. Seeing this, Lena's eyes glowed with a hint of luster. Don't reveal your wealth, otherwise you will get into trouble. For money, these adventurers will do anything. Mr. Chen should know this. What is he trying to do? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 336. It was poisoned by a mature dark wolf spider. This kind of poison can only be cured by a light magician at the level of a great magician. However, light magicians at the level of a great magician are only available in the Temple of Light. They took action once, the price required is high. How many? No less than 1 million gold coins. So expensive? Light magicians are rare, and light magicians at the level of great magicians are even rarer. Even in the Temple of Light, these are all at the priest level, so, however, if you are willing to become a believer in the Temple of Light. No, I don't plan to become a believer in the Temple of Light. Then there's nothing we can do. In order to make money, Duna chose to become an adventurer. Duna is a swordsman and a great swordsman. As a great swordsman, as long as Duna is given time, he is confident that he can use various methods to collect millions of gold coins. But the problem is, there's not much time left. For this reason, Duna could only choose to become an adventurer. Accepting tasks in the Adventurers Guild, hunting World of Warcraft, and selling Warcraft's magic crystals and materials while completing tasks was the fastest way to make money. But even if it's so fast, it still takes too much time to get it all together. Until this day, Duna was sitting in the Adventure Guild, waiting for the guild to release a mission. He heard something. Contestants can choose any profession, including beast control, sword master, magician. As long as they can beat me, they can get a reward of 1 billion gold coins. What do you think? When these words rang out, Duna noticed that the entire Adventure Guild was boiling, and everyone's eyes were looking towards the front desk. Duna looked at the front desk and saw a man in his early 20s chatting with front desk clerk Lina with a smile. Duna frowned. If you defeat him, you can get 1 billion gold coins. Duna secretly observed the man in front of him. The man looked very handsome, and there was a woman beside him, who was simply a stunning beauty. But from these two people, Duna couldn't feel a trace of magic or fighting spirit. In an instant, Duna was sure. These two must be the young master and daughter of a wealthy family, looking for a beating. I've been itchy lately. I heard the young man say this again with a smile. Duna was even more certain that this guy just had an itchy skin. Duna observed secretly. He saw the young man leaving with his female companion after discussing with the waiter. When leaving, Duna noticed that several adventurers got up and followed the man secretly. Seeing this, Duna frowned slightly. He also stood up, put the broadsword on the table behind his back, and followed. Other side. Master, someone is following us. Huofeng's voice came. Chen Hao crossed his arms and said with a smile, I know. Do you want to take action? Huofeng said softly. Chen Hao smiled, do it? That would be too boring. When a person has nothing to do, even if a mosquito comes smelling the blood, it is still a kind of fun. If the mosquito is swatted to death, it will be boring. Hearing this, Huofeng raised the corners of his mouth and said with a smile, Master, how are you? Chen Hao's smile froze. What he said was like doing something to her. Chen Hao shook his head helplessly. Duna followed quietly. In front of Duna, there were 3 adventurers secretly following Chen Hao. Duna noticed Chen Hao's behavior and frowned. These guys are waiting for that idiot to run to a deserted place, avoid other people's sight, and steal money and goods. This guy is so good that he actually walked out of the city gate. Isn't this looking for death? Chen Hao was thinking about one thing at the moment. This time when I came to Thunder Silver City, no one seemed to know that I had the identity of a creation god. It stands to reason that the king of Thunder Silver Empire has visited him, and that guy is very close to the god of law. The god of law thinks that he is the god of creation, and the king of the Thunder Silver Empire should also know this. If the king of the Thunder Silver Empire is worried that his citizens will offend him, although he cannot inform all the citizens through the internet like he did in his previous life, the king of the Thunder Silver Empire can also ask a painter to draw a portrait, and then put his portrait on it. Was posted all over the Thunder Silver Empire, but it was obvious that the king did not do this. Suddenly, an idea flashed in Chen Hao's mind. He got it. Because the king of Thunder Silver Empire did not dare. The king of the Thunder Silver Empire was probably worried that he would make himself angry if he did this. After all, plastering a person's portrait all over the screen is disrespectful to that person. If the picture posted was a portrait of the creation god, then the creation god would be angry. I have to say that the king of Thunder Silver Empire is still full of thieves. In this way, only a small number of people in Laiyan City who have seen their bone dragon will find it difficult to deal with them, while those who have never seen a bone dragon may not be afraid of themselves. That would be fun. Chen Hao smiled. While Chen Hao was thinking, Chen Hao and Huo Feng had already left Laiyan City. The gates of Thunder Silver City are guarded by guards. Under normal circumstances, these guards only check the identity of people entering the city. They will not block people leaving the city. Chen Hao deliberately walked into the forest outside the city. Go to some remote places specifically. It should be almost done here. Chen Hao stopped, turned around slightly, leaned against the tree trunk behind him, crossed his arms across his chest, looked behind him, and said with a smile, "Everyone is tired after following us for so long. Come out and talk." "Speak." "Huh," came a voice. 3 figures walked out from behind the trees. One of the men was holding a bow and arrow. The bowstring was fully drawn, and the tip of the bow and arrow was pointed at Chen Hao's head. Beside this man, a man in black robes with claw marks on his face walked out. He was carrying a long sword and stared at Chen Hao. Behind the man followed a bald, strong man. The man in black robe stared at Chen Hao, raised the corner of his mouth, and said playfully, "I heard that you have 1 billion gold coins, hand over the 1 billion gold coins. Otherwise, this long arrow will pierce your head in a while." Hearing this, Chen Hao smiled. He raised his hand, touched his chin, and looked at the man in black robe. "It turns out it's for money, which is a bit interesting. It's understandable that people die for money and birds die for food. But..." Chen Hao's brows were filled with an interested smile as he looked at the man in black robe. The man frowned, "But what? Don't play tricks. I know that you have a bone dragon to control the beast, but so what? Before you release the bone dragon, this long arrow is enough to pierce your head. You can give it a try. Stop talking nonsense with me, hand over 1 billion gold coins immediately, otherwise, you will be dead." The man in black robe became impatient. Chen Hao smiled, "Young man, don't be so hasty. Since you want me to take out 1 billion gold coins, the problem arises again. If you want to take out 1 billion gold coin cards, then I have to take out the card collection book and collect it from the collection. I can take it from the card book, but the problem is, my bone dragon card is in the card collection book. How can you be sure whether it is a gold coin card or a bone dragon card?" Duna was hiding not far away. When he heard Chen Hao's voice, the corner of his mouth twitched. "What's going on with this guy? He's talking too much, isn't he? And what is the saying? Teach robbers how to rob? What will you do if I take out the bone dragon card? You need to be more technical in your robbery. You can't do this, little brother." The man in black robe was impatient by Chen Hao's words. "Do it. Shoot me an arrow. You talk so much." Along with the sound, The man holding a bow and arrow immediately released the bowstring. The long arrow shot towards Chen Hao fiercely. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 337. The long arrow was released from the string and shot towards Chen Hao's head. Suddenly, a figure stood in front of Chen Hao. It was Duna, who had been following Chen Hao all the way. Duna stood in Chen Hao's hand, and he pulled out the broadsword behind him with one hand and slashed at the long arrow in front of him. Suddenly, Duna could see that the long arrow that shot rapidly was instantly wrapped in black mist. Then, a fluffy black hand stretched out from the black mist. Bang! The broadsword chopped on the fluffy black palm. Duna only felt a terrifying force coming. Bang! The broadsword in Duna's hand was shaken away, turned half a circle in the air, and fell to the ground. Duna was stunned, and there was a trace of shock on his face. He is a great swordsman. The great swordsman's attack was actually shaken away. What monster? Duna looked closely. I saw a fist-sized monkey with black hair all over its body, rolling several times in the air and falling to the ground. Duna took a look. He found that the monkey was covered with black mist, and in its right hand, it was holding a pitch-black spear. No, it was a long arrow. Because the monkey was too small, it held the pitch-black long arrow as if it was holding a spear. A beast? Duna was a little confused when he saw this creature that suddenly appeared. Was it the magic beast that was transformed from the arrow shot by the guy holding the bow and arrow just now? Duna saw with his own eyes that after the long arrow was wrapped in black mist, the monkey came out of the long arrow. Duna looked at the man holding the longbow, and the man looked confused and puzzled. Duna's heart moved. Isn't this beast his? Duna looked at the monkey, only to see that the monkey glanced at Duna, and then looked at Chen Hao. Noticing the monkey's line of sight, Duna looked at Chen Hao. Chen Hao looked at Duna. Chen Hao showed a gentle and elegant smile, crossed his arms, and said casually, I thought you were in the same group with them, but now it seems not. You just wanted to cut off the long arrow to save me, right? Then, please move aside and don't disturb me playing games. Duna was stunned. He frowned, although he was puzzled, but he still subconsciously retreated to the broadsword. Chen Hao's sight fell on the man holding the bow and arrow in front of him. He said with a smile, since your arrow shot me, then I use your arrow to create a beast. There should be no problem, right? The three adventurers looked at each other. The black-robed man frowned and stared at Chen Hao, playing tricks. Summoning beasts is so fancy, do you think you can scare us like this? Lai Lan, ignore him. Get started, as he said, the black-robed man stretched out his hand and pulled out the long sword behind him. The strong man behind the black-robed man also pulled out his broadsword after hearing this. The longbow man immediately took out a long arrow from the quiver behind him and pointed it at Chen Hao again. Chen Hao smiled and said, I'll name this new beast the Arrow Monkey. Arrow Monkey, be quick. The Arrow Monkey, which was as big as a fist, received the order and looked at the three adventurers. Suddenly, the arrow shot by the longbow man flew off the string and flew towards Chen Hao. The Arrow Monkey saw it and jumped up to meet the flying arrow. As it approached, it opened its mouth and bit off the long sword in one bite. While biting it off, its eyes fell on the longbow man. Its feet, which were as flexible as its hands, pinched the arrowhead of the broken arrow in mid-air and exerted force suddenly. The arrow shot out of the longbow man. In an instant, the arrow penetrated the longbow man's head. At the same time, the black-robed man had rushed up, swung his long sword and slashed at the Arrow Monkey. The Arrow Monkey flipped in mid-air while shooting the arrow with its feet, just avoiding the long sword. The Arrow Monkey landed on the ground, and as soon as it landed, its body sank and deepened, turning into a black shadow, and swept towards the throat of the black-robed man. The long arrow held in its right hand was like a miniature spear, and it instantly pierced into the throat of the black-robed man. At the moment of piercing, The arrow monkey's fist-sized body had already jumped behind the black-robed man, and the long arrow just went through the back of the black-robed man's neck. The arrow monkey held the arrow shaft of the long arrow and pulled it out. At the same time, its foot landed on the back of the black-robed man, kicked its foot, and pounced on the third strong man. When the strong man saw it, he didn't even have time to react. The arrowhead of the long arrow in the hand of the arrow monkey slid directly across his throat. The arrow monkey's body landed on the ground and stood up. At the same time as the arrow monkey stood up, the longbow man fell down, the black-robed man fell down, and the strong man also fell down. Bang bang bang. The arrow monkey put the long arrow in his hand, which was like a miniature spear, on his back, then looked at Chen Hao and trotted towards Chen Hao. When Duna saw this, his eyes widened. This speed, this reaction, this strength, Beast King. Although the arrow monkey is small in size, the speed it showed shocked Duna. A normal mature beast master definitely does not have the strength. Beast King. Duna looked at Chen Hao. Chen Hao had already turned the arrow monkey into a card. Duna was sure that the man in front of him was definitely not a fool. For a moment, Duna found that he could not see through the mysterious man with a smile in front of him. Duna had never heard of a strong man who could control beasts in the form of a monkey in the Beast King stage. Chen Hao held the card, looked at Duna, and said with a smile, "Did this buddy follow them to save me?" Hearing this, Duna was slightly startled, and he said, "I just want to ask you for some money by saving you. Now it seems that you don't need my protection." Chen Hao smiled, "Are you short of money?" Duna nodded slightly, "I want to save you for some money, but it's just a spur-of-the-moment decision. I followed you because I heard you say that as long as I can defeat you, I can get 1 billion gold coins, so I want to know. If I challenge you now and defeat you, can I also get 1 billion gold coins?" Challenge. Hearing this, Chen Hao's heart moved, and there was a hint of interest in his eyes. He smiled and said, "You have seen the strength of the arrow monkey, and you still think you can defeat me?" Duna nodded slightly, "I have never seen your beast before. I have to admit that it is very powerful, but I am not weak either." "Well." Chen Hao smiled, "Interesting. However, fighting here is meaningless. I hope to see you in the arena. At that time, it may be more interesting for you to defeat me." Hearing this, Duna looked at Chen Hao. "The arena, how long will it take?" "I will let them get it done within a week, and you will be my first opponent." Chen Hao smiled. Duna nodded slightly, "The time is about the same, so the next time we meet, it will be in the arena." Chen Hao smiled, "Okay." Duna turned and left. Chen Hao stared at Duna's back. "This guy is not strong, he can be easily dealt with." "Master, why don't we just play with him?" Huo Feng looked at Chen Hao curiously. Chen Hao smiled and said casually, "I need to make some preparations to make the battle more interesting. It's too easy to defeat him, but if I let him lose directly here, it will be boring." "Oh, prepare, what does the master want to prepare?" Huo Feng was a little curious. Chen Hao smiled, "Of course it's the beast, I want to prepare some unique beasts, so that I can have fun." Huo Feng heard it and she laughed, "Master, you are using them as experimental subjects, you are so bad." I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world." Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 338. Time flies, and a week has passed. The entire auditorium of the beast taming arena was filled with people. It's really crazy for the Bone Dragon Beast Master to challenge the strongest men in the world. That's right, that's a Bone Dragon Beast Master, that's a Bone Dragon. It's normal to be confident. However, I heard that the Beast Master said that he would not use the Bone Dragon in this competition. No Bone Dragon? Is it true? The Bone Dragon Master doesn't use a Bone Dragon? Isn't that crazy? He has money but no place to spend it? Is he going to give away 1 billion gold coins for nothing? I can't understand either. The Bone Dragon Beast Master doesn't use bone dragons. Does he have other Beast Masters? I guess so. Suddenly, at this moment, the entire audience became restless. Look, it's coming. Along with the sound, I saw a figure stepping into the arena. It was a man in white clothes, with an elegant and easygoing smile, walking into the arena with casual steps. After entering the arena, the man looked around at the audience stands. When he saw the audience, he squinted his eyes and had a particularly gentle smile on his face. So handsome. Is this Bone Dragon Master Chen Hao? He looks so handsome, some girls' eyes lit up when they saw this man. This man in white is Chen Hao. At this moment, Chen Hao is wearing white clothes and has a refreshing short haircut. Because of the special physical characteristics given by the gods, Chen Hao's body is always in a healthy state. Therefore, Chen Hao's current body is still a standard figure. He has muscles when undressed and looks tall and thin when dressed. Paired with Chen Hao's innocent smile, he is indeed somewhat handsome. Chen Hao walked to the spacious arena. Chen Hao looked at the field and saw no opponent. Chen Hao muttered, "Are you here early? Forget it." The book appeared in front of Chen Hao, and Chen Hao flipped through the book. Look, what is he doing? I'm probably making preparations to find a beast to fight with. Well, I heard that the challenger this time is a great swordsman. Great sword master? My God, if you want to defeat the great sword master, ordinary beast masters can't do it. If you are like Wind Wolf, you must at least evolve to the Beast King stage. This Bone Dragon Beast Master promises not to use Bone Dragon. How will he fight against it? Look, he took out the card. Watch and see what kind of beast this Bone Dragon Master will come up with. The audience looked at Chen Hao excitedly, wanting to see what beast control card Chen Hao had taken out. After Chen Hao took out the card from the book, he said to himself, "Transform." The card disappeared and turned into a vine lounge chair. Chair, the audience was a little confused. I saw Chen Hao sitting on a reclining chair, then lying down and looking at the sky. Anyway, the opponent hasn't come yet, so just lie down for a while. Chen Hao looked at the blue sky above that was blocked by thick clouds, and slowly closed his eyes. This, is he going to sleep here? No way, isn't this competition about to begin? Isn't he? This is too leisurely. Bone Dragon Master, are you so confident? Everyone in the audience was a little confused. Here comes another one. The audience came to their senses and looked into the arena one by one. Another man was stepping into the arena. The man was wearing black clothes and had a broadsword at his waist. He was staring at Chen Hao. This person, I know, he is the great swordsman Duna. Duna, I know it too. Duna likes genius great swordsmen who live alone. He joined the ranks of great swordsmen at a young age of 20. He can be regarded as a legend among swordsmen, but he has a weird temper. I like to be alone. I didn't expect it to be him. A genius great swordsman wants to fight against a Bone Dragon Beast Master. Great, now it's something to watch. Listening to the noise coming from all around, Chen Hao slowly opened his eyes. Chen Hao turned his face and looked aside. 50 meters away from Chen Hao, Duna was seen with his hands folded across his chest, looking at Chen Hao expressionlessly. You are so laid back. Hearing this, Chen Hao smiled. I'm used to being leisurely. He got up from the vine lounge chair and sat on the chair. He looked at Duna and said with a smile, since you are here, we can start. Duna said calmly, call your beast. Chen Hao opened the universal book and took out a card from it. He looked at Duna and smiled, then the decision is yours, monkey. He waved his hand and the card flew out. The card turned into a monkey with golden hair all over its body. The monkey's pupils were golden. It squatted on the ground, its golden tail spinning behind it, and its eyes were staring at Duna in front of it. Beast King period Golden Rock Monkey. This thing is a new beast created by Chen Hao with the help of the power of Xiao Dai and Big Bear. Chen Hao named it Sun Monkey. This is, what kind of beast control? I haven't seen it before, but its hair is shiny. Well, it's golden. Is this a light-based beast? It should be a light beast. Jingguang Rock Monkey stretched out his hand, and a stone stick grew out of the ground. It held the stone stick and stared at Duna. When Duna saw this, he drew the sword from his waist, and then Duna moved. He quickly rushed towards the Golden Rock Monkey and swung the broadsword in his hand. The Golden Rock Monkey held the stone stick and came forward. Chiang! The sword and stone stick collided together. As soon as they collided, the two moved away. Seeing this, there was a hint of novelty in Chen Hao's eyes, and he smiled. I didn't expect Duna's power to be so strong. He can actually be on par with the Golden Light Rock Monkey. It's quite interesting. After the two stepped away, they bumped into each other again. The attacks of Golden Rock Monkey and Duna collided with each other. For a while, they were evenly matched. Only the sound of clashing weapons echoed in the arena. The audience stared directly at this scene, afraid of missing any changes. Chen Hao noticed something strange. Duna didn't seem to intend to use all his strength when fighting the Golden Light Rock Monkey. Although they were all collisions of strength, Duna obviously deliberately used his strength to unload his strength. His purpose did not seem to be to defeat Jingguang Rock Monkey, but adjusting the position. Slowly, Duna's position was replaced by the previous position of the Golden Rock Monkey. Duna's position was closer to Chen Hao than the Golden Rock Monkey. Suddenly, Chen Hao noticed that the moment Duna's weapons collided again through the Golden Light Rock Monkey, Duna suddenly turned around, and his eyes fell on Chen Hao. Meeting Duna's gaze, Chen Hao's eyes glowed with a hint of luster. This guy, can't he? Just as Chen Hao thought, after Duna landed this time, he rushed towards Chen Hao. No wonder this guy didn't fight the Golden Rock Monkey with all his strength. It turned out that he wanted to capture the thief first. Beast Masters fight with the help of Beast Masters, so most Beast Masters who cultivate Beast Masters quietly have no fighting ability. So smart. The moment Duna approached Chen Hao, he raised the broadsword in his hand, swung it at Chen Hao, and said at the same time, "You lose." But what surprised Duna was that when the broadsword swung at Chen Hao still maintained the usual smile on his face. Seeing that the broadsword was about to hit Chen Hao, the audience in the auditorium opened their eyes wide with excitement. It turns out that Great Sword Master Duna's goal is the beast controller himself. This time, Chen Hao loses. Seeing that Chen Hao was about to lose, the broadsword hit Chen Hao's after image. The broadsword failed, and Duna froze on the spot. He frowned and looked around. When he looked up, he saw Chen Hao and the vine chair appearing 50 meters away. He looked at Duna with a smile and said with a smile, "A good tactic, but it's useless." Duna frowned. "What did you do?" Also puzzled were the audience in the auditorium. What's going on? Duna was clearly about to hit Chen Hao just now. Why did Chen Hao suddenly disappear? I don't know, I guess it's some kind of magic, but I've never seen this kind of magic. Is it teleportation? To teleport, you have to arrange a teleportation magic array in advance, but Chen Hao doesn't even have a magic array at his feet. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 339. Chen Hao looked at Duna with a smile on his face. I advise you not to think about attacking me. It's useless. Duna said calmly, to fight the Beast Master, the easiest way to attack the Beast Master is to attack the Beast Master himself. After the words fell, Duna raised the long sword in his hand, pointed the sword tip at Chen Hao, and said loudly, "Sword skills, rapidity." As Duna's words fell, Duna's body lit up with white light. Duna's body moved, and with a movement, he suddenly rushed towards Chen Hao. With the increase in sword skills, Duna's speed became even faster. Seeing this, Chen Hao smiled, "You still don't want to give up, that's okay." Suddenly, a figure stood in front of Duna. Duna's pupils narrowed slightly, and he threw the long stick at Duna's face. Duna quickly raised his hand, holding the sword in front of him. The long stick hit the long sword, and Duna's pupils condensed. He could feel a terrifying force from the long sword to his palm, from his palm to his arm, and then to his body. Bang! Accompanied by a loud bang. Duna's body flew out in response. Bang! His body fell heavily to the ground and rolled over. He stabbed the long sword into the ground and stood firm on his feet. However, he was still pulled 6 meters away by the terrifying force before he managed to do so. Stopped. Duna looked forward. Upon seeing it, Duna's pupils condensed slightly. I saw the golden rock monkey holding a long stick in one hand and staring at Duna coldly. Duna frowned. This power. At this moment, Duna could clearly feel that the power of the golden rock monkey in front of him had increased, and it had increased greatly. Chen Hao smiled and looked at Duna. The swordsman can use sword skills to strengthen his body with fighting energy, while Sun Monkey can use magic elements to strengthen his muscles. Now you want to cross it and attack me, it's a bit difficult. Humph! Duna snorted softly, that's not necessarily the case. He moved his body and ran to the right. With the help of rapid enhancement, Duna tried to attack Chen Hao by bypassing the golden rock monkey in front of him at an extremely fast speed. Suddenly, the figure of the golden rock monkey appeared in front of Duna. Duna's expression changed. The golden rock monkey waved its stone stick. Bang! The stone stick hit Duna's stomach, who had no time to react. Duna's body flew 10 meters away and landed on his back, leaving a deep mark on the ground before he reluctantly stopped. In the audience. So fast the audience's eyes widened. Duna is very fast, but that monkey is even faster. So strong. If you take that stick head on, this competition is over. It has flown so far, I believe it will end even if it doesn't end. It's too strong. I didn't expect that a bone dragon beast master could be so powerful without using a bone dragon. I've never seen that monkey beast master, but its strength is too strong. Under normal circumstances, Duna would be dead. In the auditorium, there was a small group of spectators looking at a corner of the auditorium. In that inconspicuous corner, there sat an old man with a goatee and a bamboo hat, squinting his eyes as he watched the battle below. Next to the old man, sat a girl in red, also wearing a bamboo hat and a red veil. It's the sword god. Well, there's also the girl in red. She should be the sword god's granddaughter Irene. Irene, is that the genius girl who has reached the realm of great swordsmen at the age of 16? Well, even though her face is covered, it should be her. Tisk, I remember that Eileen is not only a genius girl, she is also a beauty. I heard that everyone who has seen her can't help feeling impressed by her beauty. It's a pity that her face is covered. Even if her face is covered, if you look at her figure, her eyes, and her temperament, even if you can't see her entire face, you can be sure that she is definitely a beauty. Yes. Aaron looked at the arena below and said, Grandpa, did Duna lose? When the sword god heard this, he nodded slightly. As a great swordsman, the fighting spirit will be enhanced by the great swordsman's physique, but the golden light rock monkey's stick on the opposite side, even the great swordsman's physique cannot withstand it. What's more, Duna just didn't react at all. He didn't even have time to strengthen his body through sword skills. He is probably seriously injured now. Hearing this, Irene said calmly, I thought that the great swordsman Duna could be my opponent, but now it seems that it is nothing more than that. However, that bone dragon beast master is too arrogant. He actually wants to challenge the strongest men in the world by himself. After Duna fails, I will be his challenger and let him know who is the real strong one. Irene staring at Chen Hao, there was a trace of disdain in his eyes. The sword god's hand stroking the sheep's beard paused slightly, and the corner of his mouth twitched. He subconsciously glanced at Chen Hao, who was sitting on the vine chair with a harmless smile. Looking at Chen Hao's extremely familiar face, in order to preserve his image as the sword god in front of his granddaughter, the sword god adjusted his emotions and said slowly, "Little guy, you have to know that there is a world outside the world, and there is a world outside the world. There's someone outside." Irene was startled, she frowned, and looked at the sword god. "Grandpa, do you think I am not his opponent?" The sword god nodded slightly. "Looking at his age, he is only 1 or 2 years older than me." Irene crossed her arms and said, "Grandpa, you will watch in a moment. She will beat him until he kneels down and begs for mercy." The sword god smiled, but did not laugh out loud. "Look, Duna is standing up again." The audience in the auditorium looked at the arena one by one. The sword god was startled, he frowned slightly and looked down at the arena. Duna was slowly getting up. Seeing this, there was a hint of novelty in the sword god's eyes. "He can actually stand up, this guy." Irene was a little surprised. Duna slowly got up. Seeing this, Chen Hao's eyes were also curious, he smiled, "I thought you had fallen down." Duna covered his stomach with his hand, he raised his face and looked at Chen Hao, his eyes fell on the golden rock monkey. "It seems that if I want to defeat you, I can only kill your beast first." As he said, Duna said, "Sword skills, strengthen." Duna's body lit up slightly. "Sword skills, lightning sword." As he said, Duna raised the long sword in his hand. The long sword lit up with white light, and the white light surrounded the long sword, making a sizzling sound. This scene made the sword god in the audience's eyes light up slightly. "Self-created sword skills," the sword god subconsciously said, "Genius." Irene was startled, and there was a hint of surprise in her eyes. Along with the flashes of lightning, the strong fighting spirit stirred up the airflow around, and Duna's clothes fluttered, and his hair also fluttered. Seeing this scene, Chen Hao's eyes had a glimmer of light. From these lightning, Chen Hao felt a sense of familiarity. "I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world." Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 340. The audience in the auditorium made a noise. Thunder and lightning sword skills, never seen before. Is this Duna's self-created sword skill? Can fighting spirit turn into thunder and lightning? A sword skill I have never seen before. There was also surprise in Irene's eyes. "Grandpa, what kind of sword skill is this?" She subconsciously looked at the sword god. The sword god shook his head, "Even I have never seen a sword skill like his. This is probably his own sword skill. He is young, but he can master new sword skills by himself. It's amazing." The sword god said with emotion, "You are young and have a lot of potential." Duna held a long sword surrounded by thunder and lightning and said, "I didn't want to use this move." Hearing this, Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows. He looked at Duna with interest and said with a smile, "The fighting spirit turns into thunder and lightning. This kind of sword skill is quite rare. Then try it and let me see your sword skill powerful." Strangely, when Duna used this unprecedented sword skill, Chen Hao could feel a sense of familiarity from Duna. It seemed that Duna's thunder and lightning had been seen somewhere before, but Chen Hao couldn't remember it for a while. "I killed your beast master, don't regret it." Duna looked at Chen Hao expressionlessly and said coldly. Chen Hao smiled, folded his hands on his chest, sat on the vine chair, and said with a smile, "Just kill." Humph! Duna squinted his eyes, and his eyes fell on the golden rock monkey. At this time, Duna moved. As soon as he moved, he was as fast as lightning and appeared in front of the golden rock monkey in an instant. The long sword surrounded by thunder and lightning swung. The golden rock monkey reacted instantly, holding the stone stick in front of him. Zi, along with the sound of thunder and lightning, the stone stick broke into two pieces. Death, Duna shouted. The lightning sword passed over the body of the golden rock monkey, and the body of the golden rock monkey was split into two in an instant. Bang bang. The golden rock monkey fell down in response. So fast the sword god's eyes glowed. The sword skill, Thunder Sword, not only enhances Duna's destructive power, but also increases Duna's speed. This speed is extremely fast. Although he is a great swordsman, using it his sword skills are almost as fast as those of the sword master. His sword skills are truly astonishing. When Erin heard this, she was also a little surprised. You must know that the sword god is her grandfather, and Irene knows her grandfather's character. Her grandfather has an arrogant character, and he has extremely high requirements when it comes to swords. The sword skills that can make Grandpa praise and praise are definitely not ordinary sword skills. Irene was a little jealous. What kind of existence was this guy named Duna in front of him? He could actually create this kind of sword skill on his own. In this case, the Bone Dragon Beast Master named Chen Hao should have no other Beast Masters. Irene murmured, that guy claims not to use bone dragons. In this way, he has already lost. Bar. When the sword god heard this, he squinted his eyes and looked at Chen Hao on the vine chair. The surrounding audience also began to talk about it. I didn't expect to see such a powerful self-created sword skill. Isn't Duna, the great swordsman, too strong? Well, from the looks of it, the Bone Dragon Beast Master should have lost. Who said he lost? Doesn't he still have a bone dragon? Well, if he uses the bone dragon, then he can probably fight a dozen more. But the problem is, he himself said that he will not use the bone dragon. It would be too embarrassing if he regrets it temporarily. Compared to this, I think, challenging the strongest players in the world by one person only to lose in the first game. There shouldn't be anything more embarrassing than this, right? Haha. Haha, it's a huge event with 1 billion gold coins, but it's just one event. That's really embarrassing. The audience laughed out loud. Inside the arena, Duna sheathed his sword and his eyes fell on Chen Hao. Then your master beast is dead. Maybe you can consider releasing your bone dragon. I have never killed a dragon. Hearing this, Chen Hao smiled and crossed his arms. I said, I won't use the bone dragon. Now that I have said it, I will not change my mind. Duna narrowed his eyes. So, you plan to pay? Under normal circumstances, a beast master can only train one beast in his lifetime. In Duna's opinion, if the man in front of him, who is about the same age as him, can cultivate a bone dragon and a beast master at the level of a beast king, he is already very powerful. In Duna's opinion, it was impossible for Chen Hao to get the third beast. Chen Hao looked at Duna playfully and said with a smile, if you want me to pay, I'll have to defeat Sun Hao or Hao first. Duna was stunned and frowned. Didn't you see? Your grandson has been cut into two pieces. Huh? Really? Chen Hao smiled playfully. Duna looked at Chen Hao's expression. He frowned and was about to say something. Suddenly, Duna felt something. He turned his face and looked to the right, where a golden light shone. Duna's pupils condensed slightly, and he saw the body of the golden rock monkey that had just been broken into two parts was covered in golden light and rejoined. The golden rock monkey opened its eyes, stood up slowly, and stared at Duna. Resurrected, there was a scream from the audience. What's going on? Why did this monkey come back to life? By the way, it's light magic. This monkey has the ability to regenerate. Oh my god, what kind of beast is this? Irene on the side saw this, and she was also surprised in her eyes. She suddenly looked at the sword god. "Grandpa, this." There was no surprise on the sword god's face. He looked indifferent and stroked his beard with his hand. "In this world, there are some immortal monsters. As long as the magic crystal is not destroyed, those monsters can be regenerated infinitely. This golden light rock monkeys are probably of this type." Aaron frowned. "Infinite regeneration, I know this. Grandpa, you told me before that the dark monsters in the Death Abyss have the ability to infinitely regenerate." "But Guy, it's from the light system," Sword God said. "Dark monsters can regenerate, and some light magic elements also have the ability to regenerate." "So that's it." Aaron nodded slightly. She crossed her arms across her chest, hugging the red sword in her arms, and said, "However, just regeneration is of no use. With the speed and destructive power of Duna's Thunder Sword, as long as the attack is aimed at the monkey's head and the magic crystal in its brain is broken, the monkey will also die. In the face of absolute power, regeneration will be useless." Eileen said calmly, "It's just a dying struggle." "In the arena." Duna narrowed his eyes. "Is the regeneration ability similar to the power of the undead creatures in the Death Abyss?" "This ability relies on the magic element of the magic crystal. As long as I destroy this magic crystal, it will be useless." As he spoke, Duna raised the long sword in his hand, and the blade on the long sword was surrounded by thunder and lightning. The flashing thunder and lightning glowed with white light, illuminating Duna's face. The tip of his sword was aimed at the head of the golden rock monkey. "Next time I attack, I will attack its head. I would like to see if you want to how to do it." After the words fell, Duna's body moved. "Zizi." The sound of thunder and lightning flashed, and Duna's body suddenly appeared in front of the golden rock monkey with the sound of thunder and lightning. He swung the thunder sword in his hand and slashed at the golden rock monkey's head.